Okay, this is our in-class tutorial that we are running through in class on Friday. We're going over more compositing and a little bit of color grading today. It's not going to be super in-depth as the first one that you went through on Wednesday, but it's just to give you another idea of how to match some colors and to really create a balanced overall image. So open up Photoshop. And when you get to the opening window, we're actually going to go up to Help. And you are going to select Hands-on Tutorials. This is literally a tutorial that is in Photoshop. There's tons of different things that they'll walk you through to learn on your own. And we're going to go up to the search window and you are going to type in the word compositing. And let's select this one that has the little thumbnail of the deer. So combine images to create a composite with layer masks. Layer masks are very, very important when it comes to compositing. So we're going to start our tutorial. And then we're going to just kind of drag this window over to the side so it's not in the way. Okay. So it's going to actually tell you what to do. So it says select the layer. So you just click on it, and then we're going to go up to select. And they have this wonderful thing where you can actually select the subject, and it's going to try to do its best in just creating a selection around the subject. So as you can see, it does a pretty decent job of selecting it with a little bit of, since the feet are already hidden, it's not going to get the feet so much. But it's okay because we're going to go through how to kind of hide the feet in some bushes in this background image. Okay, so now it's prompting us to click on the layer mask. And automatically we see this layer mask come in and it's created. So we still have the original image, but around our selection, the white space is what's viewable and the black space is what's not. Okay, so, and it just describes that as well. This creates a layer mask with black that hides the non-selected background and white that shows the selected deer. So we need to click next to continue. So this little window we still need, so don't exit out of it. So you will need to click next. Okay, so the next prompt is to select the brush tool. You can also hit B on your keyboard, okay? We're going to make sure that the foreground color is set to black. So we're going to switch this so that it's black, okay? You can also toggle this with X, okay? So I'm going to just make sure that black is selected, okay? And then I'm going to bring up this little window and click next. I don't know why we have to do it right there. I wish it was more in the actual thing, but it's all right. All right, so we are going to make sure that we select a brush. I'm going to select a pretty standard brush, so this soft round will do. And they said to adjust the pixels to 80. So unfortunately, this is like right where that is, and that's okay. So just kind of sneak in there, select 80, and they said the hardness needs to be at 0%. So mine is already there. If yours isn't, just adjust that slider. So I'm gonna see if that you can also go, if that is getting in your way and you're getting frustrated, you can also go to Window and select Brushes, and you can change some settings in there as well. So brush settings, size is at 80, hardness is at 0%. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to bring this little thing up and click next. All right, so it says brush with black over the bottom of the legs. This adds black to the layer mask to hide the legs and blend them into the brush. Okay, so we're just going to, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Oh, so you can hold down your command and hit the plus sign, in order to get there. And that's a little too much. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to Command Z. And I'm just going to, so in order to do this, you need to make sure that the mask is actually selected, okay? Okay, I'm just going to go over it kind of lightly, just to hide the legs a little bit more. I'm not satisfied with those black legs, so back legs, so I'm going to just Command Z and go over it a little lighter than what I did before. And this just kind of gives the illusion that it's behind the bushes. Okay, I'm satisfied with that, so I'm going to click Next. And now we need to turn the branches into antlers. Okay, so we're going to unhide the layer. I'm going to hit Command and the minus sign on my keyboard so that I can zoom out. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Select Color Range. Okay, we're going to make sure that sampled color is selected. So sampled color is right here. Then we're going to make sure the left eyedropper is selected. And you're going to click on the white background. Okay, the fuzziness should be set to 70. Okay, so you'll just click in that box and enter 70 or drag this. This is a quicker way though. And then you are going to select this, invert. Okay, then click OK. And so it's going to select all of the area that's within the actual color. So it's going to exclude all of the white, and it's going to select all that's in there, and that's what we want. Okay, so then click Next. All right, it's giving us a new prompt. Add a layer mask to create a layer mask on the branch layer. So just click that button again, and boom, we have a branch. Okay, woohoo! Now we need to click Next to continue. This is really, I don't like this feature so much, but it's okay. All right, now it says to click Edit and Free Transform. Okay, the command shortcut, keyboard shortcut is Command T. So I'm just going to do it the way they asked, but you can also do Command T on your keyboard. And you're going to drag the corner just so that it's a little bit smaller. Okay, and then you're going to rotate it. I'm going to drag it down here so you can actually see. There's a little box that should pop up when you rotate. It's not popping up right now. It was before, but that's okay. So if you notice, you can actually type in 40 right here, and it will adjust the angle to about 40. It doesn't have to be exactly 40, but just as good as you can, okay? And then we'll click Next. All right, and then it says Finish Current Text. Oh, I need to click Enter. Okay, now with this portion, I'm just going to show what it does. Okay, so we're on the layer, and it's going to ask us to duplicate the layer. Okay, so you go to Layer, Duplicate. It's okay that it's branch copy. Okay, and we're going to go to Edit, Transform, and Flip Horizontal. Okay, so your copy is going to be just as so. Okay, and you can click and drag that over to this area. Okay, and you can select the Move tool by hitting V on your keyboard or just coming over here, and you're going to drag it to the left antler. Okay, so that was supposed to be the last and final step, I believe. I did select it, I moved it, it's over, it's done. They are just thinking that I haven't done that yet, so. Okay. Okay, so it says we completed it. I personally am like Why didn't we get rid of the other antlers? Okay, that's bogus. So if you've gone ahead and done this, I'm going to go ahead, we're going to undo duplicating that layer. You can just go ahead and you can always, like if we had it, let's just say we were right here, you can always just go and delete it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to bring a little bit more of a moodier look to this overall image, okay? So what we can do, so obviously in the Insta Collage assignment, you learned about adjustment layers. So adjustment layers affect all of the layers below it, okay? Well, I am going to, since they're a little similar in kind of the same shading and the same brightness and tone and stuff like that, but there's just a little bit of differentiation to them. So sometimes it takes just going in and actually adjusting the color and all that jazz to the individual layer. And you can do that by going to just making sure the image that you want, your layer, is selected, and going up to image and going to adjustments. And right here is where you can choose different things. There's a lot of different options in here, and really I'm just gonna go to, I believe it's brightness and contrast. We're going to just adjust a little bit. So I'm going to make it a little bit moodier. Right now it looks really bright, and I'm just kind of getting this little like moody and darker sort of vibe. Really, you can adjust it to however you want. So if I'm going to make it a little darker, it's going to be a little bit further down on the brightness so that it's a negative number. I think this is probably all right. Negative 62. Okay, and so I can bring up the contrast to kind of bring out some of those values and make it a little crisper, or I can soften it up. I don't really want to keep it soft. I really want some of those edges to really pop. So I'm going to bring it up just a little bit, maybe around there, okay? So really, you can play around with whatever. With the deer specifically, okay, I am going to go in and I am going to, first off, I'm going to hide this layer, and I'm going to select my brush tool, and I am going to go and erase these antlers because I don't want them to be in my final image. I want the actual blossom branches to be his antlers. So again, we want the foreground color to be set to black because that means we're going to be taking away from the actual image that was selected. So go ahead, and the same brush settings will be okay. To make it smaller, you can use the brackets on your keyboard. So the left bracket will make it smaller, and you can use your trackpad to zoom in, or you can use Command and the plus sign. And I'm going to get some of these values that are a little, or this image that needs a little bit more fine tuning around the ear, because I don't want to erase the ear. looks pretty good. Gonna just make sure everything is erased. So just gonna go over this general area. Looks pretty good. All right. Oh no, you antlerless. That's really hard to say. Deer. Okay, so the placement of this deer is pretty good. I'm going to leave it there. And now I'm going to just adjust the color. I'm going to make him look a little bit moodier as well, bring out some of these edges and stuff of his fur. And to do this, you want to make sure that the actual image is selected, not the mask. Okay, so we're going to go back to image adjustments and we're going to go to brightness and contrast again. So again, I want to go for that moodier look. And I'm going to bring it down just a little bit, a smidge, maybe not as dark as we went. And again, that contrast I'm going to bring out. So it's going to bring out more of the brown in there as well. He was looking a little peaked, a little sickly. He has some green tones, which is fine. You know, some things will bounce color off, you know, and there's a lot of green foliage in our scene. But I am going to kind of take away some of that green. You can see some of the green around his eyes and around his ears and stuff. And it just makes it look a little unnatural. And we don't want that. Okay. I think that that's probably good. So again, I'm going to go to, you can even just check auto tone. Ooh, I really like that. I'm gonna keep that auto tone on there. That's sometimes the auto control is really good. Auto color did all right. It looks a little unnatural with the brown. So I'm going to just navigate doing the same thing to the background with that auto feature. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And honestly, it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. So obviously this brown is a lot more vibrant than this brown of the trees, which obviously there's different shades and tints and tones of the trees, but I'm going to try to match this as a little bit more. So I'm going to stay on the background layer because I really like how that deer is showing up. I'm going to go to adjustments and we can go to color balance. Okay, so this has the option of changing the shadows, midtones, highlights, all that jazz. And if you want to preview this as it's happening, make sure that preview box is up. So really, this is just experimenting. Ooh, so already having those midtones brought up is bringing more of the green out. I really kind of like that. We're going to adjust the shadows a little bit. Okay, so this is adding more yellow in, more blue. Okay, if you add a little bit more red in, that's going to add, so we're going to take down some of this blue color, make it a little warmer. Okay. It's looking all right. You can also adjust the highlights, and really it is just experimenting. Oh, I really like that because that brings out the sky a little bit more. Okay, I actually am really liking this, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna go in and focus a little bit more on this. Now you can use the dodge and burn tool. I'm gonna use the burn tool, and you can change the shadows, midtones, highlights, and just all of these different options are, you know, available to you. And I'm going to go through, and whatever layer I have selected, it's going to affect. And I'm going to just darken up a little bit. Okay, so I don't necessarily like how dark it is making it. So I'm going to, we're going to change the exposure a little bit, a little lower, so it's not super bad. Okay, and it looks like I'm going to need to go back in with my brush and just make this a little bit more hidden right here too. So I'm going to select my brush tool, and those same settings should still be there. So I'm going to just kind of adjust right here. Again, black is taking away. It's making it look a little bit more realistic. So burn tool. You can kind of just get different areas to bring out some of those. And again, we talked about like having the light be a focus as well. So don't feel like you have to spend so much time on this, but that looks pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna do this same sort of thing to this branch. So you can see it's a little lighter. We're going to make sure that the actual image thumbnail is selected, and I'm going to just change the brightness and contrast again. We're going for that moodier look, so the brightness is going to be set a little bit to a darker. We're going to bring out more of that contrast because we definitely have a lot more of that contrast brought out in the other elements. Okay, and so this area right here is actually matching along with this. So I don't believe we're going to need to do a lot of what we did with the deer to this. So this looks pretty decent for right now, at least to get us through. Now I made the edits on this this layer first before we're duplicating it, just because if we duplicate it before we do all of the color correcting, then we're going to have to do the exact same thing to the other side. So it's just smarter to do it on one before you have to duplicate it. Alrighty, so I'm going to select my move tool, and I'm going to just adjust this a little bit more. You can also use your arrow cursors to kind of line it up, and I'm going to adjust the angle again. Okay, so Command T brings up the transform, and you can rotate it just a smidgen. And again, with my cursor, I'm just gonna move it over. I'm actually gonna make it just a smidgen smaller so it matches a little bit more. That looks pretty good. You can always go back and select that mask and select our brush tool and go back in and add a little bit more of this in. Okay, it's not really matching, but from far away it looks all right. Okay, go back to this a little bit. Okay, so on this area, I'm actually going to take away, this part of the antler so that we can see the ear popping through. It just makes more sense to have some of that ear popping through over the antlers and vice versa. Okay, now we will actually duplicate. Okay, so one quick way you can do that is select your move tool. You can press V on your keyboard. Is you can actually hold down Alt, click and drag. Okay. So this area that I had taken away, it's there. We'll add it back in. It's not a big deal. So I could have probably waited for that last step until after I duplicated, but no big deal. We're going to go to Edit, Transform, and Flip Horizontal, just like in the other, just like in the tutorial said. I'm going to zoom in. And honestly, that part is kind of hitting right on this ear part. So we won't add a whole bunch back in just so that that ear realistically goes over the antlers. We are going to rotate it just a smidge. Okay, hit enter. We're going to add some of that back in. Sorry for the bells. So I accidentally took away from the image, so we want to add back in. So I'm toggling the white. Okay. All right. So now you should see a pretty decent photo of a deer with blossom branch, antlers, and a little bit more of a color matching together. It was a simple run through, but you kind of get the gist. It's all about experimentation. You just got to play with things. Honestly, this, we could have blended these a little bit more. But from far away, you can hardly tell. So you just kind of have to make those decisions for yourself. But we could have maybe gone through and added a little bit more lighting because we have a lot of this light coming in from over here and shining through. So, but it looks pretty realistic with the lighting on the back right here. We could have done a little bit of fine tuning on the branches as well. But overall, it looks, even though it's kind of a dreamlike fantasy deer, it still is giving off the perception that it should be real based on our knowledge of lighting and our knowledge of color grading, so that we can really establish and match those colors. So there's more detail in all of that. There's so many resources out there to learn how to better color grade, and just to kind of give a difference between color grading and color correction. Color grading is basically your matching colors, you're adjusting colors and tones and everything to establish a different mood or a different tone to your picture, a different feeling. It's used in film, it's used in photography a lot, but color correction is correcting the color so that it's perceived the way that the eye naturally sees it. Okay, so there's no fantasy element or anything. You're just like, oh, this picture is, it's giving off the color of what my eye would actually see. So it's bringing out some different qualities to kind of make it more realistic. Whereas this gives the perception that like it's kind of dreamy and everything, and it's giving a mood. So there you have it. Go ahead and save this as an image, as I guess deer composite with your username somewhere in there as a JPEG, and attach it to the assignment.